So in this video, I'm going to run through exactly how you build an epic physical and mental shape. I'm going to detail the process that I use to create rapid and lasting results in total physique transformation and mindset recalibration. And I'm going to teach you the mechanisms behind permanent change, how to build more confidence, discipline, and self-agency. Look, it was only around 3 years ago that I discovered the biggest and most blatant gap rendering traditional coaching methods ineffective. From personal training to online coaching to doing it yourself. For decades now, the process has been needlessly difficult and inefficient, and delivering results pretty much just for the rare few, and even then, only in the short term. And once you actually see this cap, you are not going to believe that it's gone unnoticed for this long. I'm going to go through the exact unique process that I use to get my clients from being out of shape and lacking confidence to getting ripped, jacked, and brimming with self-confidence. Developing more self-discipline and self-agency for life, and I'm going to give you the exact way to do that for yourselves. This video will change your world, and I'm going to give you everything that you need to get started. But let's be really clear. The mechanism is extremely effective, but it requires full commitment. And if you give this 100%, you'll create a lasting impact that transforms your life. And while the method is simple and focused only on what matters, it will demand your full effort. Because let's be honest, you don't want to keep struggling daily, starving yourself, pushing hard with no changes in the mirror. You want to wake up each day knowing you've taken real steps forward and that you're building momentum, looking and feeling better with more energy and making real progress toward the body and the mindset and actually the life that you really want. You don't want to stay stuck in this constant cycle of trying, finding motivation, falling off, feeling guilty, and then having to restart. You want immediate progress through clear guidance and accountability while learning the systems and rewiring your mindset for long-term success. And you want to be that guy making serious progress, someone who becomes unrecognizable in just a few short months. You want to be that guy that people will be asking, what are you doing right now? Because it just seems so effortless. You'll be able to tell them it's because you built systems that serve your lifestyle. So all you have to do is focus on a few key levers in training, nutrition, lifestyle, and mindset, and your entire life will level up. If you're going to get into the most phenomenal shape of your life, you're going to have to play by some new rules. So let's go through those rules together. In today's world where dopamine is everywhere, distractions are constant, and food is always within reach, convenience has replaced effort. We barely need to stand up to get what we want, and over time that creates softness, mentally and physically. We live in a society designed to make men weaker, and no matter what method you use, a trainer, a coach, or going solo, you'll keep falling until you rewire your identity and your mindset. Because most people treat symptoms like poor habits, low energy, bad routines, instead of actually fixing the root cause. Because look, without the internal shift, you'll always rely on hand-holding. And the second it's gone, you'll fall back into comfort and regression. So unless you build something stronger inside, you'll get dragged back every single time. So to overcome this, we must adopt a mindset rooted in older, more powerful truths, evolutionary ones. We need systems that make us work harder and make us harder to break. Systems that create discipline, mental strength, and the ability to stand out among the lazy, soft, and comfortable. Because comfort leads to softness, and softness breeds anxiety, stress, low self-worth, and the antidote is learning to become more comfortable in discomfort. Rewiring your daily systems to be unfazed by the chaos of life. Look, we overcome by developing discipline, mental strength, and most importantly, systems. The biggest issue is that most coaches only focus on short-term results. They give you a training plan, a meal plan, and some hydration tips, but no one wants to look good just for a day. Yet that's all the industry really prepares you for. The good news is that because society encourages hand-holding and softness, it does give you an incredible edge because you can be the ones that stand out. And when you shift your identity, your habits, and the structure of your days, you separate yourselves from 99% of men. And that's really what makes this different. This right here, this is the titanium rebuild revolution. In the public eye, several men have mastered the link between physicality and mentality. Take Mark Wahlberg, actor, entrepreneur, producer. Mark doesn't just train, he runs on systems. He's known for waking up at 2:30 in the morning to train, pray, read, and start the day with structure. Look, I'm not asking you to do that, but his discipline bleeds into his work ethic, business success, and presence. His body isn't for vanity, it reflects his mindset. And the lesson here is that when your body runs on systems, your life does too. What about David Beckham? Athlete, fashion icon, global brand. Beckham didn't just master football, he built a brand empire through discipline, personal pride, and emotional control. Even after retiring, he maintains elite condition. Why? Because his standards are part of who he is. He's carried that consistency into business, fashion, and global leadership. And we've got everybody's favorite, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, actor, businessman, icon. The Rock is discipline in action. His training is non-negotiable. His identity is forged in the gym. Whether filming, launching brands, or closing massive deals, he moves with certainty. That presence and follow-through, it starts rep by rep. Massive standards lead to massive impact. And what about in the business world? Alex Hormozi, investor, author. Alex isn't a fitness influencer, but you can quite easily tell that he lifts. He built his first fortune in fitness and never let go of that base because his body reflects the internal rigor that built multiple 8-figure businesses. He's calm, he's relentless, and he's structured. And when you control your body, you prove that you can control anything. Now, look, I get it, right? These are public figures, but they're not genetically special. They've simply chosen to live on a higher frequency, and the entry point to that shift is their body. Discipline, structure, and identity. In a more everyday context, back when I was working on the gym floor as a personal trainer, I began to notice a clear difference. Some clients adopted basic training, nutrition, and lifestyle principles quickly. They got real lasting results. But others flitted in and out, even with the hand holding. And the difference was mindset. What is it that these guys are actually doing differently? What common traits are driving long-term success? And over the years, I began identifying, doubling down on those traits, and I built them into my coaching. So self-confidence, discipline, and self-agency, these became the pillars of the Titanium process, and they've remained so ever since. The guys making real progress in all areas, body, business, family, leadership, they've hardwired those same traits. They don't rely on motivation, they run their lives through a structured, repeatable system. Now at this point, I began reflecting on where traditional coaching falls short. And most programs spoon feed a training plan and a food plan and basic lifestyle tips like hydration and step count and so on and so forth. But in a convenience-driven world, that doesn't cut it. Without constant accountability, most people just default to ease and fall back. And that's why these models work short-term but fail long-term. What actually works is internal rewiring. Building confidence, developing discipline, gaining identity clarity, creating emotional regulation, and building follow-through. And that's what creates lasting change. And when you combine that rewiring with systems, that's the path to permanent transformation. Look, it's not just about sustaining results. It makes results come faster because you eliminate resistance. You reduce the reliance on willpower and you start making the right decisions effortlessly day after day. Willpower becomes irrelevant, standards take over, and with that, you're finally in control. Now you might be thinking, that's great for some, but what if this doesn't work for me? And it's a totally fair question, especially if you've never experienced this approach. But there's plenty of proof. Look at my client Pete, for instance. He got absolutely diced, massively boosted confidence. He even launched a business, and his words were, nothing ever stuck before. And that now he wakes up with structure, with energy, and that it's not just my body that's changed, it's my entire mindset. We've also got David, 40 years old, he lost over 25 kilos, and he finally revealed all this muscle that he's been training for years but never got to see. And he thought he needed motivation, but it really for him turned out that he just needed to become the kind of man that doesn't rely on motivation. Check out Ishvan, he dropped 30 pounds in 4 months. He got promoted. He said, I used to rely on motivation and now I rely on who I've become. I love that. Wilson, 30 pounds dropped in just 4 months, still enjoying his weekends out. He's a bit of a party boy. He said, I didn't just get in shape, I became someone who I actually respect. That's massive. Then we've got Luke. He built his best ever physique, abs, bicep veins, all while running a business and supporting his family. He found that the systems gave him more energy across life, calling it a version 2.0 upgrade. What about Ben? 15 kilos in 120 days. He skyrocketed his confidence. His exact words were, traditional coaching focuses only on the externals and I fell for it for too long. And this was the end of the yo dieting for good. How about Glenn? Gained serious amounts of muscle. Dude looks phenomenal. He cut fat. He built his best physique ever, ready for a photo shoot. He said that the real change wasn't just in the physique, but the internal rewiring that made it easy to sustain and build on, even years later. Now look, the good news is there's a clear mechanism to become physically, mentally, and emotionally outstanding, and every client I've mentioned used it. Exceptional, life-changing results to hundreds upon hundreds of guys, and you can just see a few examples over here. It's the exact system that I walk all of my clients through, and it's the same mechanism that rebuilds confidence and self-agency, identity and clarity, and emotional regulation. And the most important one, discipline and follow-through. And it ends the cycle of relapse forever. Most importantly, it does this fast, efficiently, and for life. And that's why we have to stop playing the old game. No more band-aid fixes, instead total recalibration through the titanium transformation dual mechanism, a completely different framework that produces a completely different outcome. Inside the titanium transformation program, there are two core mechanisms that drive the result, what we call the titanium dual mechanism. So these mechanisms work together to deliver not just a transformation that you can see in the mirror, but a transformation that lasts. Mechanism one is external execution, and this is where we begin, because without world-class execution systems, nothing else works. And this mechanism has four key components that work together to give my clients extreme clarity, direction, momentum, and most importantly, results. And I'm going to show you exactly what you can do today to start seeing results in a massive, meaningful way. So within mechanism one, the external execution, the first component is custom training systems. So what can you do right now? Well, first of all, refocus on high return movements. If you're not seeing results, you're either doing too much, too little, or the wrong stuff completely. And fix it like this. First of all, exercise selection. Each workout should contain no more than 3 or 4 compound lifts. Examples are things like incline dumbbell press, trap bar deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats, and pull-ups. Then you typically do 1 to 3 isolation movements. Things like your lateral raises, cable curls, rope pushdowns, calf raises, rear delt flies. Remember, heavy lifts build the global musculature, and isolation is there to bring up weaknesses. In terms of total weekly sets, I would train 4 or 5 times a week maximum. Hit 10 to 12 quality sets per major muscle group weekly, ideally split across 2 sessions. You really don't need 30 sets. What you need is tracked, progressive, hard sets close to failure. As a rule of thumb, push to failure on 1 set of one of the compound moves per muscle group per week. That is more than enough to elicit a growth stimulus. Remember, progression is king, so track and progress, load, reps, tempo, rest, and your execution. Remember, no logbook, no progress. Next up with your cardio, use it strategically. In a fat loss phase, start with just 1 to 2 light sessions. I'm talking 15 to 25 minutes, incline walking, Stairmaster, or low impact intervals. Increase only when fat loss stalls. Remember, cardio is a lever and it's not a crutch. Now, the key mindset here with your training is to chase mastery. You don't need to do 1,000 different exercises. You don't need new exercises every week. You need to master the basics and then apply intensity. Stick with your main lifts for 4 to 8 weeks. Get stronger each week, and then evolve. So component 2 is precision nutrition plans. Now, training without the right fuel limits your results, and this is where everything compounds. So here's what you can do right now with your food. Number 1, set a calorie target that matches your goal. Fat loss, 10 to 12 times body weight in pounds. Muscle gain, 15 to 17 times your body weight. Track daily, no guessing, consistency always win. Number 2, lock in your protein. Aim for 1 gram per pound of body weight. Nice and simple. Spread it across 3 to 5 meals. Eggs, lean meats, fish, whey, Greek yogurt, and so on. Number 3, create a repeatable meal structure. So pick 2 to 3 go-to meals per meal, i.e. breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Use foods that you digest really well and enjoy. In terms of carbs around training, eat more carbs pre and post-workout. Keep night meals lighter for better sleep. Don't under-eat early just to binge later. You want your energy for when you actually need it, i.e. during the day and during training. Number 5, fix your digestion. Slow down and chew. Avoid combining too much fiber in one meal. Don't eat when you're stressed or rushing. So this is the exact foundation that I use with every Titanium client. Custom, adaptive, and systemized. So if you're not with me yet, this is where you start. Simple moves, done daily. That's what changes your body. Now, component 3 is the direct one-to-one coaching and access to me, your coach. This is the heart of the program, and it's daily access to me. No PDFs, no silent group chats. You get direct one-to-one contact Monday to Friday with voice notes, texts, videos where needed as well, daily support to keep you moving. Plans change. You're traveling, a big weekend ahead. You message me, I send the strategy. If your mindset dips, we talk it through. If you're stuck on a lift, you send a video, I break it down. If you're struggling after a bad week, I pull you back on track. This is high-level mentorship, built on trust, structure, and relentless progress. And I educate you along the way. So you're not just following instructions, you're learning to operate. And by the end, you'll know exactly how to run your body, your plan, and your system like a pro. So what can you do right now for coaching and support for yourself? Well, firstly, run weekly self-check-ins. Every Sunday, ask, did I follow my plan? What went well and what didn't? What's my target this week ahead? Write it down. Track progress like it's a project. Number 2, forecast the obstacles. Look ahead 7 days. Travel, stress, events. Plan how you'll handle them now, not later. Number 3, build a tight circle or go solo with standards. If you've got friends on the same path, check in weekly with them. No one around you? Lead yourself. Use a whiteboard, a journal, Google Doc. Just don't wing it. Number 4, give yourself daily orders. Start each morning with 3 non-negotiables. Train, hit nutrition, hit steps. Tick them off. Do that for 16 weeks and your life will change. 5, stop waiting for perfect conditions. Success isn't about having the perfect coach. It's about taking action, especially when things aren't ideal. So start where you are and use what you've got. Now, component 4 of my program is relentless accountability and weekly check-ins. This is the glue. Weekly data-driven check-ins that create momentum and eliminate guesswork. Every week you'll submit 11 data points. Weight, progress photos, strength on your lifts, sleep, energy, mood, hydration, food, training adherence, steps, and any questions or blockers from me. I don't just collect numbers, I read the trends, I troubleshoot fast, we pivot before issues snowball, and we follow one core rule: we do not miss twice. If you slip, you're human, but we reset fast and prevent it from repeating. This process rewires your behavior. Motivation fades, systems take over, momentum builds. Eventually, you stop relying on me because you start trusting who you've become. Now, what can you do right now for better accountability? Well, firstly, track these 8 metrics weekly. Use a notes app or a spreadsheet. Your daily weight, your weekly progress photos, your steps, your sleep, your water, your training sessions done, nutrition, mark it out of 5, 5 being perfect, 1 being crap. Your energy and your mood, again, mark it out of 5. 2, pick a weekly check-in day. Review your numbers. Did you progress or stall? Make 1 small change for the next 7 days. If there's some more, make those changes too. Number 3, follow the rule. Don't miss twice. 1 off week, fine. 2 in a row, it becomes a pattern. Break that fast. 4, choose 3 to 5 weekly targets. Binary. Hit or miss, yes or no. That's how standards grow. No coach required. Just track, reflect, adjust. That alone will raise your game faster than motivation ever will. So that's mechanism 1, external execution. Now look, if you're thinking, this already sounds like it would change the game, well, you're right, but that's just half of the system. Mechanism 1 creates the transformation that you can see. Mechanism 2 creates transformation that lasts, and that's internal rewiring. This second mechanism is the real separator. It's what turns temporary wins into permanent change. It's what separates the Titanium method from any other coaching method out there. And mechanism 2 focuses on 4 key internal levers: confidence and self-agency, identity and clarity, emotional regulation, and discipline and follow-through. This is what makes the Titanium system unstoppable. It rewires how you think, act, and lead. So the results don't just stick, but compound. Because without internal rewiring, your identity, your beliefs, and your standards, you're just renting a result. And as soon as life gets hard, it slips. So here's how we make this shift permanent. Firstly, we address confidence and self-agency. This isn't feel-good confidence. This is a track record of follow-through. Inside Titanium, we engineer it by proving every week that you're capable of more. It starts small. I highlight wins that you'd usually ignore. Prepped meals despite a full workload. That's adaptation. Hit your steps after poor sleep. That's self-leadership. Bit by bit, you build a bank of evidence that you can rely on yourself. And when life gets hard, we draw from that bank. And over time, I shift the language from I helped you to you made that happen. That's the move from dependence to self-agency. When you stop needing permission and start leading. In titanium, self-agency isn't fluffy, it's a skill. It's taught, it's practiced, and eventually automatic. So here's what you can do right now. Every Sunday, write down 3 things that made you proud. They just need to be real. Next, keep a phone note called Proof I Can Change and drop in every hard choice you follow through on. And then start each day with my actions shape my outcome, I lead myself. The second component is identity clarity. This is the engine behind everything. Most guys aren't lazy, they're unclear. They try to act differently while thinking like their old self. We change that inside Titanium. Through weekly check-ins, I speak to the man you're becoming, even before you feel like him. This is how a man with high standards handles stress. This is how a disciplined operator behaves on a travel week. Subtle, constant, and powerful. Your behavior starts aligning with your identity and not your mood. We also lock this in with tools. You'll define who you're becoming in your own words. That becomes your anchor. The feedback I give ties into your identity, not the outcomes. You don't skip a session and say, I failed. You say, that's not who I'm becoming. I'm getting back on track. And that shift changes everything. So here's what you can do right now. Write this. The man I'm becoming is, and then list 3 to 4 bullet points. For example, leads with discipline, trains no matter the emotion, speaks with clarity and calm, does the work even when it's hard. Read it daily. Act from his perspective. And every Friday, ask, did I act in alignment with the man I'm becoming? Okay, on to the third component of mechanism 2, emotional regulation. Now, most men don't realize how often emotion hijacks their decisions. With food, with training, with sleep, with scrolling, they're all symptoms of unregulated states. Now, inside Titanium, we don't expect you to be a robot. We expect life to get messy, but we train you to handle it like a high performer. Every check-in, I look beyond your numbers. I review the emotional story underneath. You binged on a Thursday. We unpack it. What triggered it? What could have interrupted it? What does your stress data say? Then we build the next plan around that, not despite it. You start understanding your real patterns. You stop fearing hard weeks and start learning from them. You stop thinking, I messed up again, and start thinking, I just learned something new. And eventually you catch the pattern before it spirals. Now, this isn't fluff. It's systemized self-mastery, the upgrade from emotional reactivity to emotional leadership. So what can you do right now? Firstly, identify when your day usually goes sideways. Is it evening crashes? Is it post-meeting binges? Create a 3-minute pressure valve. Breath work, a short walk, 1 journal line. And then when emotion hits, name it out loud. This is stress. Just naming it reduces its power. Component 4 is discipline, and it's really what separates fantasy from reality. Now, most men don't train discipline. They chase motivation. They do 75 hard, burn out, and quit. Titanium is different. Here, discipline becomes a standard and not a streak. Each check-in is a mirror. Did you do what you said you would? If not, what's the pattern? And what's the fix? We use the rule, never miss twice. Missed a day? Cool, you're human. But we don't stack failures, we bounce back. And discipline isn't about perfection. It's recovery. It's showing up again. It's especially the case when things get really tough. And I coach that solidly. I challenge weak logic, I cut fluff, but I also reframe and reinforce every step that moves you forward. That was a pro-level decision. That's the separator move. That's what a man of standards does. Eventually, discipline becomes your default, not just because of repetition, but because of who you now believe that you are. So here's what you can do right now. First of all, pick 3 small daily non-negotiables and hit them no matter what. Next, start each day with, I don't rely on emotion, I act on decision. End each day with, what did I do today, even though I didn't want to? And that's your proof. Number 5 is follow through. This is what locks it all in. The difference between a strong start and real transformation is this, follow through. Titanium clients don't check in only when it's going well. They check in every week, good, bad, or messy. That consistency breaks the all or nothing trap that's held most men back for years. No ghosting, no disappearing when it gets hard. You lean in, you reflect, and you adjust. And I track what you've said previously and call it back. You said you'd hit 10K steps. You averaged 11K. That's follow through. That's compounding. This builds integrity live. in real time. You stop relying on and chasing feeling good, and you start aiming to execute no matter what. You stop breaking promises to yourself and you start respecting your own word. And that's the difference maker. Now, here's what you can do right now. Pick one accountability system, whether it's a friend, a coach, or even just your notebook. Report weekly, no matter what. Then write down 2 things that you said you'd do this week. Did you actually do them? Now pick one more for next week. Remember, treat completion as a standard, not perfection, not motivation. Just, did I do what I said I would? So that's mechanism 2, internal rewiring, the part no one else talks about, and the part that makes this permanent. Because truthfully, you don't need another plan. You need to become the man who follows through. You don't need more motivation. You need to rewire who you are, how you think, and what you tolerate. And that's what Titanium does. It stacks world-class execution on top of deep identity work. Altogether, that's what creates transformation. It doesn't just look different, but it feels different. And more importantly, it lasts. If you're done renting progress, if you're ready to finally become the man who leads himself, physically, mentally, and in life, this is the system that will take you there. Now, most people get stuck because they only ever focus on one mechanism. They either hire a coach who gives them macros, training plans, a weekly check-in, but never changes how they think, never teaches them how to lead themselves, never rewires the patterns that cause the inconsistency in the first place. Or they dive deep into mindset work. They journal, they meditate, they read books on discipline and dopamine, but their systems suck. Their nutrition is guesswork, their training has no structure, their execution is inconsistent at best, and so they spin in circles. What happens? They make some progress. They maybe even see a few abs, and then it all slips. They relapse. They feel like frauds. They lose the results, and worse, they lose trust in themselves. Now, progress without permanence is just self-sabotage in disguise. And that's exactly what happens when you don't combine both mechanisms. But when you do, when you wire both the external execution and the internal transformation together, that's where the magic happens. I've had clients lose 30, even 40 pounds in 4 months and keep it off without obsession. I've had clients in their 40s and 50s and even 60s step into the best shape of their lives while working full-time jobs, running companies, raising families. I've seen men add 20, 30, 40 kilos to their compound lifts, your bench presses and deadlifts and squats, double their energy, build confidence they haven't had since their 20s. And in the process, they've launched new businesses, left toxic relationships, secured promotions they've wanted for years, rebuilt their identities, been noticed, and from the ground up, become the person they were meant to be. Not because of a dopamine hit from motivation, but because we implemented both sides of the titanium jewel mechanism, and we rebuilt the entire foundation of their life. So let's recap so you're 100% clear on what you need to do right now to begin changing your world. Right, with your training, you're going to build your week around 3 to 5 resistance sessions using big compound movements as the foundation. You're going to stick to 8 to 12 high effort sets per muscle group per week using movements that give you the best return. You're going to track your lifts and aim to progress either reps, weight, tempo, or reduce the rest period every single week. And you're going to add just enough cardio to create a fat loss lever, not to punish yourself. Finally, prioritize intensity over novelty. Get stronger, get sharper, get better at the basics. Now with your food, lock in a consistent calorie and protein target that suits your goal. Surplus for mass gain, a small deficit for fat loss. Next up, eat foods that digest well, repeat them often, and remove complexity wherever possible. Then, build 2 to 3 core meals that you can rotate. Prioritize simplicity, digestion, and control. And then finally, focus on hydration, your sleep, and your stress management to support fat loss and energy. On the accountability side of things, review your progress every week. Scale weight, photos, energy, mood, and strength. Set goals every Sunday for the week ahead and review what went right and what didn't. Start tracking habits, even in a basic checklist format. Training, food, sleep, steps, and water. And hold yourself to the standard of never miss twice. Always course correct. Final piece is internal transformation. Every week ask, where did I prove to myself that I can follow through? Reconnect with the identity you're building. What would the man I'm becoming do? Then, when things get tough, regulate. Don't react. Zoom out. Respond with control. Treat discipline as a loving standard, not punishment, and take pride in that standard. And then finally, execute, review, repeat, follow through even when it's not perfect. Now, this is the system, guys. This is the shift. And this is the moment you stop cycling through temporary change and finally build something permanent. Now, look, if you want this done with precision, if you want me in your corner, if you want to take this to the highest level and never look back, to get totally unrecognizable and change the course of your future forever inside the next 4 months, then click the link below and DM me on Instagram. And I'll send you all the details on how you can get me as your coach. And I'll show you exactly how we rebuild the whole thing together. This is your moment. Let's go.